Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mayor Stephen Reed, Mayor of Montgomery, Alabama, and second Vice President of the African American Mayors Association.
Afternoon. Good afternoon. For 7 years, I was a judge and I had a gavel. I don't have a gavel, but I got the microphone. So as you come on into the luncheon, we want to thank all of you for your participation, and we want to thank all of you for your partnership and sponsorship, the African American Mayors Association. Thank you all for joining us for the welcome luncheon during this 9th annual conference. And having served as the second vice president of AMA for the past year, I'd like to thank President Frank Scott and the Little Rock team for all of their support and leadership of the African American Mayors Association and for continuing the legacy of leading such a phenomenal organization. Let's give them a round of applause. I'm also grateful for his example of leadership, and as I prepare to assume the role of the African American Mayors Association first vice president tomorrow, our board leadership vision is clear. It includes transportation, infrastructure, housing and urban development, public safety, and police accountability, wealth creation, and women's productive rights. As the only organization representing the more than 500 Black mayors in the nation, we are committed to playing a vital role in the national conversation. But more importantly, we don't want to just talk, because talk is cheap. We've got to act, and we need your partnership and your collaboration in order to do that with a productive outcome. And I know many of you already do tremendous work in many of these areas that I just mentioned, but this is just a brief overview of our priorities. Let's continue to contribute to the equitable and inclusive growth of our communities and our cities all across this country. The great thing as AMA has grown over the years is that there's so much geographic diversity, from small towns to mid-sized cities to large metropolitan areas, literally from Seattle to Savannah. We're excited about that, and your partnership with us helps us to grow even more. Now, as you scroll social media, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, and your Instagram feeds today, be sure to share and retweet the stories you see about our conference here. You can find AMA on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook at Our Mayors. And if you're taking the stage during one of the meal events, including our Legacy Awards Gala or during the Big Four panel on Friday, we are live streaming these events to our YouTube channel. So please make sure you share those so that we can amplify the work that we're doing, and you can share what we're doing here and how it impacts communities back home. So make sure your networks know. And lastly, don't forget to include the hashtag AMA2023 in all of your posts. And we can't wait to share them as well. Now, before I introduce someone who needs no introduction, I again want to thank all of you for your participation in our breakout sessions, our workshops, showing up and really sharing a lot of knowledge and information with all of us as mayors. We can't do it by ourselves. We need the type of expertise that you all have in the public space, in the private space, in the philanthropic space to really move our communities forward. No level of government can do it alone. And it's important for you all to understand what your friendship and what your involvement means to us. Now, Mayor Victoria Wooders of Tacoma, Washington, as I said, needs no introduction. She serves as the president of the National League of Cities, and she was elected mayor in 2018. As mayor, she continues to be a champion of these important issues while expanding her involvement in regional and national conversations on affordable housing, transportation, strengthening youth and families, public safety, growing local businesses, and the creation of family wage jobs. She has also worked to engage the city's youth more fully in community decisions that impact them every day by expanding Student Government Day and establishing the city's first youth commission. President Wooders has been selected to serve in several national leadership roles that allow her to share information with other cities across the country and bring best practices back to Tacoma. In addition to her role as president, she has served as co-chair of both the NLC's Council on Youth Education and Families and its Race Equity and Leadership Program. At the U.S. Conference of Mayors, she serves on the advisory board. As vice chair of the Committee on Jobs, Education, and the Workforce, and as co-chair of the Women's Mayors Leadership Alliance. Mayor Wooders also serves as a member of the Board of Trustees for the African American Mayors Association. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mayor Victoria Wooders.
Hello, everybody. Okay, anybody who knows me, what am I going to tell you right now? You got it. It's 12 o'clock here. It's 9:15 in Tacoma, but y'all had me up at 5 a.m. So I'm just waking up, and it's a work day, so I am actually awake. It's better than a Sunday when y'all got me up and I'm trying to sleep. But it is such an honor to be here with all of you today. I want to first start out by just doing a few recognitions. I want to recognize Vince Williams, the immediate past president of the National League of Cities, the man whose footprints I try to stand in, but they just a little too big for me. And then I also want to acknowledge Frank Scott. Hasn't he done a wonderful job leading this organization? Frank, we are so, now, y'all, I call people by their first names. Let me just get that out of the way. It's not disrespect. But when I became mayor, I lost my first name. I call my own mother. My mother doesn't even call me Victoria. She says mayor. And so I have this thing about calling electeds by their first name because they never get to hear it anymore. So I don't mean it in disrespect. I mean it in, isn't it nice to hear it every now and again, Frank? But what I want to say to you, Frank, seriously, is that you are an amazing leader. As I took over the helm as president for the National League of Cities, I had the opportunity to watch you over the last year and the way that you lead with such confidence, but such humility. And that takes a lot in a leader because so often our heads can get really big when we get in positions of leadership. But you have really maintained that humility and that closeness to the people that you serve. And I couldn't be more honored to be a part of this organization with you as our leader. Can we give Frank another round of applause? And then quickly, and I'll make my formal remarks to my girl, the incoming president, to Sean Patterson Howard, who will be our next president. I want y'all to realize that when Sean becomes president, two of the largest organizations serving mayors and elected officials in this country will have Black women leading them. And Sean, I am so looking forward to spending the rest of my time as president NLC working side by side with you, girl. We're gonna do some things together. We're gonna make a difference, um, not only for our people, but for people across America. And then just very quickly to Phyllis Dickerson, who needs there's nothing I can say, but thank you, Phyllis, for your continued leadership and hard work. We appreciate you. I don't have to tell you all why it's important that NLC and the African American Mayors Association work together going forward. I also don't have to tell you what we've already done. We can think about ARPA and the Infrastructure Act. That's the kind of work we've already accomplished together. This year, as president of the National League of Cities, I chose the theme investing in people, building partnerships, and creating endless possibilities. So, people plus partnerships equals possibilities. And that's the reason I'm standing here before you today, is because if we continue to work together, focused on the most important asset that we have, and that are the people who choose to call our communities home. If we can continue to focus on them and then we can continue to work together, we really can change lives of people in our communities and create what I call endless possibilities, meaning that everyone who lives in any one of our cities, towns, or villages has an opportunity to really achieve their full destiny. Because I'm not a person who believes you empower people. I believe we remove barriers and give people the tools to empower themselves. And if you do that, that's like giving somebody a fish. If you give them a fish, they eat for a day. If you teach them how to fish, they eat for a lifetime. And that's what we do as mayors, as leaders in our cities, is making sure that we are giving people what they need and what they deserve to be strong contributing members so that they can take care of themselves and their families. They can change how they move forward for generations to come. We have to do this work together because we all face the same things every day, whether you're from my community where we only have 10% African Americans, or as we heard this morning from Jackson, Mississippi, where you have 85%. We lead as mayors, but we also have a special responsibility, and that is also to make sure that we lead for people like us. Because it isn't what we say, it is what we do. So, what I commit to you in the rest of my year as president for NLC is to be a strong partner with the African American Mayors Association. We already are. We now occupy the same space in the same building. And we're going to continue to build on that partnership moving forward. Thank you all so much for being here. Look forward to continuing our work together. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Reverend Kenneth Reeland, Senior Pastor of Paramount Baptist Church in Washington, D.C.
afternoon. Welcome to Washington, D.C. May we pray? Our God in heaven, we thank you for this time of coming together, a gathering where we spend time collaborating and planning the work in the vineyard. Thank you for these leaders that, though they lead, need your leading. So God, while we're here, pour into us while we pour into others. Bless this food that we're about to receive. We ask that you make it nourishing for our bodies, for the work that we've been called to. This is our prayer in your Son and our Savior's name we pray. Amen.
I practice in Pasadena, Texas, which is right outside of Houston. This is an underserved community. A lot of resources are needed in this community. And Village MD, we're able to provide them the resources that they need to keep them out of the hospital and keep these patients healthy. We are very committed to health equity. As we grow, as we expand, we are committed to placing clinics in underserved communities.
I think as primary care providers, we want to practice to the highest level of our ability. We chose to go into primary care for a very specific reason. And Village allows you to cater to your patients and really practice medicine.
It's not about just seeing as many patients as possible. It's about how well can you take care of them. Village allows me to be a better doctor. It allows me to deliver better care to patients.
We're living in a changed world. Advances in technology are dramatically reshaping how we live, work, and learn. And while there is great potential for technology to help address society's biggest issues, the pace of this change is also raising new challenges and amplifying existing inequities in our communities. Now more than ever, Microsoft recognizes its enormous responsibility and opportunity to ensure that the technology we create benefits everyone on the planet, as well as the planet itself. Now is the time for urgent action. Those of us that can do more should do more. But the challenges we face are complex, and no one company, industry, or country can solve them alone. Together, we can reimagine a better future.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Our program will begin soon.
Amazon's Career Choice program, open to eligible hourly employees, is available in 14 countries and allows employees to pursue further education and skills training through a variety of programs. Nearly 60,000 Amazon employees signed up for the company's Career Choice program in 2022.
I chose cloud computing because it is the future.
I work in Amazon in the morning or afternoon, and I go to school in the evening.
Juggling work, family, and school has been a bit of a challenge. The scheduling here at Amazon, working the 4 10-hour days, makes it much easier to do that. Gives me 3 days off so I can spend time with the family.
Since its initial launch in 2012, Career Choice has seen more than 110,000 participants explore a range of opportunities, including starting or returning to school, learning new skills, or earning industry certifications. The global program continues its mission to empower hourly employees to learn new skills for professional success at Amazon or elsewhere.
The next goal in my career is to become a cloud support engineer. It feels amazing to finally get this done. I think it's going to mean even a lot more to my family than myself. Because of Amazon, I was able to complete my degree.
Having this job, I can help my husband send my kids to school, to college. Now I earn 3 times from what I used to earn.
Ladies and gentlemen, this panel is sponsored by Amazon. Welcome to How Amazon Career Choice Advances Economic Opportunity. Please welcome your moderator, Tanya Hallett, Vice President of PXT with Amazon.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for attending this fireside chat. I know there's lunch involved, so maybe that was a part of the choice, but we're so happy to have you here with us. And this is an opportunity to learn about Amazon Career Choice and how it advances economic opportunity in communities throughout the country. My name is Tanya Hallett, and I am the Vice President of People, Experience, and Technology for Amazon Stores. For some of you, that just means I'm the Vice President of HR. Amazon Stores is everything you think of when you want to get stuff, but it does entail everything from retail, grocery, and healthcare. So everything that encompasses that globally. I will also share with you a fun fact about myself. And it's a peculiar thing we like to do just to make sure that we can, let go of some of the formality in our meetings. So a fun fact about me, which makes this panel really exciting, is that I was a college DJ at an alternative rock station. And I did play a lot of R&B and hip hop, but I also had my time doing alternative rock. So it was a lot of fun. I'm gonna ask my panelists to do the same. So if they could please join me on stage. We have Mayor Hancock from Denver. Of course, he'll say a bit more about himself. We have Dr. Westrick from Morgan State, and we have Josh from Amazon, one of my colleagues, and also Michael Netzer from Baltimore County. So I'm actually, Mike, since we go back a bit, how about you introduce yourself and share your fun fact? I told them whoever sits next to me is going to go first.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Fun fact for me is my daughter had a baby girl yesterday. So.
Oh, awesome.
And
Congratulations.
the real fun fact is I did play in a rock band early in my life, and my hair was a lot longer and, believe me, a lot darker.
Hello, I'm Josh Thomas, the Regional Director for Sub Same Day within Amazon. Fun fact about me, there was a period of my time where I moved to 10 different cities in 12 years with 2 companies, so lots of moving.
Hi, Nicole Westrick, Morgan State University. And my fun fact is that when I lived in Baltimore the first time for 5 years, I performed in a synchronized swimming theater troupe.
Yeah, how's that? A fun fact. I have been to 4 Super Bowls, the very first one in 1987 as the mascot for the Denver Broncos.
Oh, all right. All right. Well, thank you for those great introductions. We wanted to warm you all up so you can get really excited to hear from these panelists. And I'm really excited to dive a bit more into the roles you all play in your respective fields and communities. I'd like to take a moment with you all to just share a bit about Amazon's Upskilling 2025 pledge and all of the programs that are associated with it. But we'll really focus in on one, which is our Amazon Career Choice program. So at Amazon, our work is led by 16 leadership principles that have really become integrated in the way we operate as individuals within Amazon, and how we operate with our teams, but also how we operate across our company. And so one of the newer leadership principles that some of you may have heard about is called Strive to be Earth's Best Employer. And when we think about it, it states that leaders work every day to create a safer, more productive, higher performing, more diverse, and more just work environment. And so, a part of that, when we think about Strive to be Earth's Best Employer, we believe that our Amazon Upskilling 2025 pledge is a means to do that. It is a $1.2 billion investment or commitment to provide skill training opportunities to over 300 employees by 2025. I will tell you that we have 10 of these programs, of which I've already mentioned. Our marquee program is our Amazon Career Choice program. And right now we have 130,000 Amazonians who are participating in that. And the uptick most specifically occurred last year when we entered into this pledge, where we had 60,000 Amazonians sign up for it. So for some of you who've been following Amazon in this place, we first started this work back in 2012. And when we started this program in 2012, it was because at that time we were an employer that thought that hourly employees that came to work with Amazon we should then invest in them getting professional credentials and certifications to go work somewhere else. But as you know, when you think about Amazon in 2012 and where we are now, we're now an employer that's in many more industries. And so we've now changed our program and we have 3 verticals that we invest in. So we invest in pathways where employees can still gain those industry certifications, but now because we have grocery and pharmacy and healthcare, they have a choice to not leave Amazon, but to stay within Amazon or pursue externally. We have foundations, which is another vertical, and that's to allow employees to improve their English language skills, get a GED, or get a high school diploma. So that was new for us. And then the last thing is our college vertical, which we're really excited about. And we saw that our Amazonians really responded to that. We're now allowing our employees to pursue getting an associate's or a bachelor's degree. So this is game-changing stuff. We're really excited about it. It's something unique that we've done. And in order to enable this, we partnered with over 400 university partners or learning partners around the country to help us to do this, to really provide the best outcomes for our employees. So thank you for allowing me to tee this up a bit as to why these are the panelists that we wanted to talk to today. So I'm excited that we have 2 of our college partners with us, as well as our state and a leader within our company who sees this bring to life. So Mayor Hancock, thank you again for joining us. Could you please share a little about how Denver approaches building economic opportunity for its residents and the advancements made together with Amazon through programs like Career Choice?
It was on just a minute ago, really. If I can take 2 seconds, though, I want to acknowledge someone in the room, the real founder of this iteration of the African American Mayors Association, dear friend, former NBA All-Star and former mayor of Sacramento, Kevin Johnson, is in the house. We just want to say hi to Kevin.
Awesome.
Hey, Jay, what's up, baby? um, Michael and I were just talking about this, and that is what Amazon is doing is reminding us that, one, the whole ecosystem of HR has changed. We have been a society that really has dismissed people. If you've made a mistake, it's hard for you to get a job, to get a place to live. And what we recognize in Denver, and we started by banning the box, asking people if they've had a conviction, which was almost an immediate disqualifier, but also recognizing that we have got to, it is more efficient, fiscally responsible to train and invest in our employees than to allow for that cycle of people coming and going in your system to keep occurring. Recruitment, training, and hiring is very expensive. And so, recognizing that, we've done a couple things. One, remove those barriers. Two, invest in our employees by giving them the opportunity to go back to school and to get educated and to improve their educational lot. But also, through all of our investments in infrastructure, how do we train people, give people the skill sets or to the ability, the opportunity to attain the skill sets so that they can continue to be employable for the rest of their lives? It's the old adage, I give a man a fish, he can eat for a day, but if I teach him to fish, he can feed himself for a lifetime. And then finally, I will say this, there is nothing more dangerous than a person without hope. And if you've got men and women coming out of the penal system or who've made a mistake, and we say you can't get a job, you can't get housing, we don't recognize how unsafe that makes the rest of everybody else. Because what are they going to do in desperation? But revert back or revert to something that is unhealthy for themselves, but also for all of us. It is time to reinvest. It is time to invest in our employees. It's time to invest in society. It's time to stop dismissing or throwing away people because someone makes a mistake. And that's what Amazon's doing, and that's what we have to do in the ecosystem of human resources.
Thank you for that, Mayor Hancock. Thank you for being a leader to partner with us. I love that whole concept of, the old adage, teach a man to fish, but also the concept of hope and how hope is critical. Thank you. So, Mike, could you please share a bit about the Community College of Baltimore County and your focus on learners? And you and I know that we've been doing this work for a couple of decades here now, but please share with the audience why you choose to partner with Amazon Career Choice.
Good morning. My name is Mike Netzer. I'm the Vice President of Community College, Baltimore County. I was so excited to jump into the birth of my daughter. I missed that, so I apologize. So just a little to set the stage, Community College, Baltimore County is an institution that has 3 campuses, 50,000 students, 3 extension centers. But what's unique about it is that 50 out of the 50,000 students, half of our students are non-credit workforce related students. And out of the 50,000, that half that's accredited students, 85% of them attend part-time, which is really the trend, and it continues to be the trend that most of our students have 1 and 2 jobs while they're trying to gain their employment. What I was talking to Mayor Hancock, everyone in this room are politicians and individuals that have jurisdictions. They're always worried about 2 things when businesses come to locate in your area. Do you have an educated workforce? And by the way, do you have a lot of them? And I'm really concerned about educating that workforce. Amazon gives an incredible opportunity to these individuals. And for CCBC, we serve the trifecta, right? We do English, which is ESOL and ABE, GED. We also do credit and non-credit. We've had over 800 students go through the program, and there's nothing more gratifying for me than to see those graduates come across the stage with their degree and or certificate. Probably the most gratifying for me is to Mayor Hancock's comments, is the GED and those individuals that for some odd reason didn't make their way through high school, come through that program, and some of it is what Amazon pays for. And those individuals come back and finish their degree and then go on to be nurses, engineers, and then even transfer to a partner institution like Morgan State. So I really call myself pretty much shameless about it. But my job is really to not only educate and give individuals the training they need to be successful, but also to really put them out into the workforce in living wage jobs so they can pay taxes and they can continue to pay my salary. So that's it.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for being unapologetically shameless and supporting the trifecta. We like that, right? We like pathways, foundations, and college, the trifecta. Thank you so much. So, Dr. Westrick, Morgan State University is one of several HBCUs that we partnered with the Amazon for Amazon Career Choice. Could you please share a bit about Morgan State's mission to serve the community and how you think employer skills training programs like Career Choice advance economic opportunity in the communities?
Absolutely. So Morgan is an HBCU, and we are the preeminent public urban institution in Baltimore, Maryland. That's right. There we go. There's our Morgan alums. And I want to contextualize my remarks a little bit because Baltimore is a city that is over 60% Black, and there are significant gaps in degree attainment between Black and white households. Black households achieve degrees at 16%, while white households achieve degrees at 43%. Morgan's mission is growing the future, leading the world. And the college that I'm responsible for sees educational attainment as a pathway to economic access through meaningful work and living wage jobs. So, our work with programs like Amazon Career Choice is particularly important because we know that Black students disproportionately are impacted by financial decisions and have to leave college without appropriate financial supports. And because Amazon provides the tuition voucher, not tuition remission or tuition reimbursement, but voucher, that allows students to pursue their educational goals in what they want to study and how they want to study. Um, and so when we think about educational goals, we view our partnership with Amazon and others as our part of doing our educational equity mission, meaning we help people achieve not where they want to go, but where they dream to be.
Oh, I love that. I love if you dream it, you can achieve it, is what I'm hearing there. And also, this concept of education is a pathway to change for an individual, but for families, therefore, communities. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Josh. Well, your work at Amazon directly interfaces with employees who take advantage of many of these skill training programs. Can you share what the experience looks like from your perspective and managing some hourly employees? Do any success stories stand out that you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can tell you, in the fulfillment centers, the associates, they love it, right? And I can usually tell this if I'm, visiting one of my sites and I happen to catch an onboarding cohort, and they're, you have if you can imagine a room full of people and they're going over the benefits, and then we get to the point where we're talking about the career choice, and that's when you see all the hands go up. You see like, oh wait, you mean to tell me that you'll fully pay for my tuition? And that's when you hear the pens clicking, like, yes, we will. And if college is not in your dreams, we also have GEDs. We support high school diplomas. We support English as a second language, so a bunch of ESL courses. And so yeah, you really hear you see the notes getting taken, and so it's really exciting to see that, and I can tell that it's a powerful thing. And it's funny, Mayor Hancock, you mentioned the light bulbs go off because you can see all of the second chances, right? You can see all of the hope that's invigorated as we're onboarding. So really exciting to see.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that and seeing it up front and close and personal as people are going through the journey from when they start and then seeing them matriculate through. So for all of you, this will be the last question, I think, given the time that we have, but I'd like for you all to respond to. We have before us here an incredible audience of mayors and other policymakers and stakeholders, business leaders, civic leaders. What is the one thing that you want policymakers to know or keep in mind as they think about updating workforce and post-secondary educational systems? So this is your opportunity to rally and get them around the one thing. So would you like to start, Mayor Hancock? Can't say no.
Say, would you like to start? No, I don't want to start. You know what? I'll tell you that and I think I started with this statement. The whole dichotomy, the whole ecosystem of how we hire people, who we hire, it has changed. And the reality is that our society is replete with people who have been dismissed. And there's an opportunity in every industry, government, private sector, every subsector underneath our industry, underneath one of those headings, is struggling to recruit employees. But yet we got communities full of people who are underemployed, underwaged, who desire the opportunity. What Amazon is doing and what cities like Denver has understood, that if we can go into these vulnerable communities, train people with skills that allow them to work for the rest of their lives, now we begin to transform these communities. We begin to create opportunities at least sustainable living and wealth building. And that's the power. Our whole system has changed. You can go on Thumbtack and Angie today and get someone who was underemployed, but maybe has gained a skill as an electrician or a concrete bricklayer or whatever, and you can hire them now. And you don't ask, do you have a record? You say, can you do the job? And that's the kind of society we should be operating in and pushing forward.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you.
So I just want to emphasize when you think about education, you should be thinking about a two-gen approach. That means two generations. We know that when we build success for people who are parenting or caregiving, we build success for the entire family that leads to building of intergenerational wealth. And that is a pathway out of poverty for every individual. The second thing, because I'll take two, is that if you if you can, you should partner with your local HBCUs. And if you don't have a local HBCU, you should partner with Morgan State University. And we will help you solve your talent challenges.
I love the shameless plugs. I do. I do. Josh?
Nice shameless plug. Who happens to have a full online degree, right? You can do it from anywhere. I just learned it today. I think the thing, it goes without saying that it's just, it is mutually beneficial to upskill our workforce. And I've seen it time and time again in our, in our fulfillment centers where we send someone out and, they go get a maintenance degree or a maintenance certification. And they went from picking and using our robots to now fixing our robots. But they understand the culture within Amazon. They understand, they know the people. It is such a fast onboarding experience and a effortless onboarding experience when you can take the people that you already have in your communities or in your workforce and then upskill, give them some kind of certification or degree. So just mutually beneficial. And to the point that you made earlier, it's really giving them an opportunity to set their families up and kind of course correct their futures.
I love that. Both of the connection of just this intergenerational, like how it does change families. Awesome. Okay, Mike.
Okay, are you ready for it? Invest in your local community college.
There we go. There we go.
That's really the gateway to education. We're sort of, we serve everything from GED, individuals that want to obtain their GED, to individuals that want workforce certifications, to individuals that come and transfer to institutions like Morgan State, individuals that upskill, individuals that want to become a CDL driver. We sort of serve all of our students. And my final plug from a federal level is support short-term Pell, because that'll allow our students to get federal aid for short-term workforce certificates, which is essential in today's economy. Thank you.
Mayor Hancock, Dr. Westerick, Josh, Mike, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really enjoyed it. I'm sharing the insights with the audience. It has been illuminating for me here on the stage, certainly before. And I hope you all have also learned about ways that you can continue to work with and partner with all of the various stakeholders in your community and legislators and policymakers to make a difference. Thank you again. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. It's certainly been a pleasure of mine. And thank you again on behalf of Amazon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Michael Myers Jr., Service Line Chief of Primary Care and Practice Transformation with Village Med.
Hello. First of all, I want to thank the African American Mayors Association for sponsoring an opportunity for all of us to immerse ourselves in Black excellence. This is a tremendous experience. My first time here, I'm extraordinarily honored and proud. You know, when you have to introduce someone, particularly someone famous, the most important thing to do is to make sure you have their name right. Now, I'm going to be introducing Xavier. If you're from Louisiana, you would say what? Xavier. No, but it's Javier. My name is Dr. Michael Myers, and I am the Service Line Chief of Primary Care and Practice Transformation at Summit Health, a high-quality healthcare provider with over 1,300 multidisciplinary providers nationwide. In January of this year, Summit joined Village MD, one of the nation's largest physician practices providing healthcare services to more than 1.6 million patients. Within our primary care practices, we're focused on building lasting relationships between patients and their providers. We believe that giving doctors more time with their patients to focus on preventive care and managing chronic conditions keeps people healthier and out of the hospital. Now, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, the 25th Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services, Javier Becerra. Secretary Becerra is the first Latino to hold this office in the history of the United States. As Secretary, he is responsible for fulfilling President Biden's vision to build a healthy America by ensuring all Americans have health security and access to healthcare services. Throughout his career, Secretary Becerra has worked to improve healthcare access for low-income populations. As Attorney General of California, he fought the opioid crisis by holding drug makers accountable, and as Congressman, was an original co-sponsor of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. He has worked to strengthen Medicare and lower costs for seniors, tirelessly defending and promoting the health and well-being of our country's most vulnerable citizens. Our country faces numerous healthcare challenges, and the Department of Health and Human Services is at the center of addressing many of these issues, including transforming behavioral health care, preparing for future public health threats, protecting the health of all Americans, expanding the healthcare workforce, ensuring coverage and access to care, improving the health and well-being of children, families, seniors, and people with disabilities, advancing science to improve health, and ending cancer as we know it. HHS has advanced a key goal of this administration by expanding access to health care for those who need it most through ACO REACH, an acronym that stands for the Accountable Care Organization Realizing Equity, Access, and Community Health Model. As a participant in ACO REACH, Village MD is committed to opening over 500 Village Medical at Walgreen practices in medically underserved communities, bringing access to quality primary care to millions of Americans. Everyone, please welcome the 25th Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services, Javier Becerra.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Secretary. Before we get started, we want to recognize one of your longtime colleagues from the great state of Texas, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Thank you. That is a literal mic drop. Congresswoman, thank you so much, and thank you for all of your support, as well as all the members of the CBC. We're grateful for that. Certainly, I want to jump right into our conversation. One, it's great that you're back with us. You gave us great information and great remarks last year, and obviously, in where we are as mayors, we have to deal with a lot of issues that are on our plates each and every day, but some are beyond our reach, in particular as it relates to healthcare. And one of the things during President Biden's administration, in your role as HHS Secretary, you have all made mental and Black maternal health a priority. Tell us more about that.
Mayor Reed, if I could first begin by saying thank you to the mayors for inviting me here. I just saw, and now she disappeared, Mayor Bass there she is right there, from my great city of LA, former colleague, who we are thrilled to see as our leader in Los Angeles. And I understand you had Mayor Johnson, Kevin Johnson, here earlier from my born and raised in Sacramento, so my home city. There he is right there. It's great to see that the mayors are showing up. And on something like maternal health, and I know I'm addressing mayors, and most mayors don't have jurisdiction over healthcare directly, but you all can help us on this one, because the issue of maternal health is not one where we don't have the science. We don't have the access. And we need to make sure that mothers or mothers-to-be and their babies-to-be have access as early and as often as possible. That's why last year, we put out a challenge to the states on Medicaid and said, instead of giving you access to maternal health care postpartum, after a woman delivers for 60 days, that's what they qualify for Medicaid services, for herself and the baby, we said, we will up that to 365 days of healthcare, maternal health care for her and her baby, if the states will buy in. And the good thing is that more than 30 states have bought in. Of course, the bad news means that there's still some close to 20 states that haven't. That means there are several hundreds of thousands of moms, future moms, who could have access to healthcare for a full year, who can't afford it on their own, but through Medicaid can. And there are states that are still not out there adopting this. And so we're trying to get out there and push this envelope. We're trying to also make investments in things like pre-delivery care. We know that doulas do a tremendous job of caring for women before they have the baby. And we know that if we help that woman get to the delivery room healthy, her baby will probably be healthy. So we're investing in the workforce, like the doula workforce and others, who help future moms deliver healthy babies.
That's great. In 2019, suicide was the 10th leading cause of death for individuals of all ages in the United States. We've seen rates of depression, suicidal thoughts, and suicidal behaviors increase among college students, and rates are higher among teens and young adults identifying as sexual or gender minority. During your term of secretary as HHS, you've made a strategic objective to drive the integration of behavioral health into the healthcare system and to strengthen and expand access to mental health and substance use disorder treatment. Recovery services have also been a priority for you, for individuals and families. How are you partnering with local governments to make this happen, and what can we do as mayors to help accelerate this progress?
Mayor Reed, one of the things that we did very early on is we helped stand up what I hope everyone now is familiar with, and that's 988. It is the mental health alternative to 911. And so rather than, and we've had these suicide prevention lifelines around for a long time, but they are different 10-digit phone numbers throughout the country. And rather than have a 10-digit number that you have to remember depending on what part of the country you're in, Congress was wise enough to say, help us establish a one universal number, 3 digits, 988. Last year we launched that. It has been nothing but a success, but it's a state, for the most part, state operated system. What we have done is we provided the glue to make it work as a seamless network, and it is working very, very well. Why is that so important? Well, because we have seen the suicide rates jump dramatically, especially during COVID. And we also know that the suicide rate for preteens has increased pretty dramatically. And here's the rub here for the group of mayors that are here today. The suicide rate for preteens who are black is twice as high as it is for preteens who are white. And we also know that for black adults, only about a third get help and services for mental health challenges that they may face. And so we know we got to get out there. And so one of the things that we're doing is we're going to where communities are that are lacking services rather than waiting for them to come to us. 988 is one way, but the other way is by making major investments in behavioral health, whether it's mental health services or substance use services. We're out there going where folks are rather than waiting for them to come to us.
Thank you. Another objective is to strengthen social well-being, equity, and economic resilience, specifically providing effective and innovative pathways leading to equitable economic success for all individuals and families. We know that economic status is often tied to access to healthcare services. What is HHS doing to promote reproductive access in Black maternal health in underserved communities?
So I mentioned the work we're doing within the Medicaid program, and most of you know that today there are more people that receive their health care through Medicaid than ever before. Virtually 1 in 3 Americans, slightly less, about 92 million of our 330 million Americans receive their health care through Medicaid. And virtually 1 in 2 of our children in America receive their health care through Medicaid. And in the Black and brown communities, obviously that number is even far higher. And so one of the things that we're doing is making sure that through Medicaid, we reached communities. So I mentioned the effort on maternal health postpartum. We're also making that effort, as I said, investing in the workforce so we don't lose them, and then we make further investments in programs like for doulas. The other thing that we're trying to do is make sure that we are on top of the services that local communities need most. And the way we're doing that now is we're working through the community health centers. Rather than tell people what they need, we're going to the community health centers that are helping many of these communities that lack access to great services. Those community health centers, the federally qualified community health centers, have been the bulwark, especially under COVID, in protecting so many families that are in distress and lack the services they need. And so we're working through the community health centers. We have funded community health centers well beyond anything that we've ever seen in the history of the country. And again, there's where I thank the president and the vice president for letting us make those investments.
Absolutely. Now, recently, Health and Human Services Office for Civil Rights reminded states of their obligations under federal civil rights laws as the public health emergency for COVID-19 and continuous Medicaid coverage comes to an end. And states restart Medicaid and the CHIP eligibility reviews. Many of our mayors are leading blue cities and red states, like myself, and many of our cities are racially diverse. How is HHS ensuring Americans, both in the country's largest urban populations as well as the smaller rural populations, will continue to be protected?
Well, and I think I think I'm preaching to the choir when I say that oftentimes our mayors, our cities are not only the first, but sometimes the last line of defense for many families who are being hurt when states don't take up providing the services that are important. We mentioned reproductive health. We have states today who are denying women access to the care that they need, and the folks that get affected most, obviously, are those who don't have a lot of wherewithal to go find it where they could access that care. If you've got money, you could probably go to a place where you can get that care. But if you lack the money, or you don't have the flexibility to leave your job or your family to take care of your reproductive health care needs in your particular state, you're in real trouble. And so we're trying to reach out where we can. And oftentimes it means not working necessarily with the state government, but working with the local government. And there is where we are absolutely interested in partnering with the mayors who are here to try to make sure that the people who you work for and protect continue to get the healthcare services they need. Maybe not as directly as you wish through your own state, but please, if we can be there, we will try, because we understand that our task, our obligation is to help every American wherever they are, regardless of what the infrastructure is within your state.
Great. Now, last month, and this is my final question, HHS, through the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, for those of us who are familiar with it, know about the acronyms, SAMHSA, announced 2 federal funding opportunities for certified community behavioral health clinic expansions. It totals $123.6 million. Tell us more about these grants and how local governments can get involved.
So the Certified Community Behavioral Health Centers, CCBHCs, were an idea that germinated a few years back in the Congress, because everyone was seeing how we weren't having the facilities available for folks who were suffering through mental health crises. And oftentimes the clinics that were available would close by 5 p.m. And mental health isn't dictated by the 9 to 5 work hour. And so we started first pilot programs in about 10 states where these CCBHCs were stood up. They are 24/7 critical care centers, and they take anyone at any hour, regardless of your condition, and they offer you professional mental health services. And they have become such a success that Congress gave us a chunk more money to open up an additional set of centers throughout the country in another 10 states. And so we are expanding out because, as I said before, when 9 of 10 Americans tell you that our country is experiencing a mental health crisis, we need to do something. And so CCBHCs are going to become a touch point. So this time, if your child or one of your relatives is on the edge and is about to go the wrong direction, but rather than take that wrong fork in the road, decides, I'm going to make one more attempt. I heard about 988. You call 988. By the way, we stood up because of the federal dollars. We were able to stand up a text and chat feature on top of the phone call, because I don't get it, but young folks would prefer to text or chat that they're going through a mental health crisis sometimes than they would rather dial a number and speak to somebody on the phone. Either way, it's working. But what you have to do is make sure that that professional on the other end of the line says, and now let me tell you where you can go to get further help, rather than say, and hang in there. No, where do you go next? And CCBHCs are that next. They're a place where folks can go beyond 9 to 5, and they will become critical components of mental health care. I hope that the cities make every effort to try to get some of those CCBHCs located in their jurisdictions, because they have worked tremendously well. And now we got to make sure we continue to bring in the pipeline of the workforce who can be there, and also get a pipeline of workers who look like the people who need the care in these places throughout the country.
Thank you so much. I've asked you a few questions, but I want to conclude and just kind of let you end the chat with anything that maybe we haven't covered, or something that you're passionate about that you think we ought to be aware of as mayors, and just end our chat with your closing remarks on that.
Mayor Reed, thank you very much for that. And let me thank all the mayors who made it to Washington, D.C. I understand that Mayor Bowser is or was here, and I thank her for taking the time to make it. If I could leave one thought with you At HHS, we learned something that I think most of you have already known for a long time. I certainly knew this, and that is that it's when we see the disparities that grow in our country, it's not because people don't want care. It's not because they don't care. It's that it's tough to leave your job if you don't get time off, or you may not have a job if you try to go and get that service for yourself or your family, or sometimes it's just too far away. We made a decision when I became secretary early on. This was when COVID was hitting hard, and I got sworn in March of 2021. I started getting data coming into me on where we were on COVID. By about May, it became very clear. About 2/3 of adult white Americans had received their first shot of vaccine on COVID. Less than 50% of black Americans had received their first shot of that vaccine. Same for Latinos, less than 50%. You could already see the disparities that we see in our country already beginning to show up again. And so we said, no, we can't let that happen. So what we did is I said to my team, we're not going to wait for folks to come to us to get vaccinated. We're going to go to them. And so we didn't wait for folks to go to the hospital or the doctor if they were fortunate to have their own primary care physician. We went out, as I said before, to the community health centers. We went out to schools. We asked the school coaches. We went to barbershops. We went to churches. We set up mobile clinics. We went out to the communities that are often left behind. What we had seen in May of 2021 become a disparity that was already growing. By January 2022, 90% of white American adults had gotten at least one vaccine. 90% of black American adults had gotten their first vaccine. 90% of Latino American adults had received the vaccine. 90% of Asian Americans had received that vaccine. 90% of Native Americans had received that vaccine. We erased the disparity. It wasn't luck. It wasn't chance. It was intentional. We knew what we needed to do. We needed to go where folks were. And when we went, they responded. And so that's the approach we take now. We are very intentional when it comes to equity. We go to where communities are because we know that they would like to be treated the same way. And we need your help because you know these communities. You know where folks are that need that help. We need to know where to send that mobile clinic. We need to know which community health center to help more. We need to know which community leaders have access to people who aren't quite sure if they should get vaccinated or when they should get vaccinated. We want to reach them. We need your help. We did that with COVID and we erased the disparities, which by the way, now that we're running out of money to go to communities, you're beginning to see the disparities grow again with the latest, the most updated vaccine. We did the same thing on Obamacare. When it came time to enroll folks on Obamacare, because by the way, when President Obama left office, we had reached more than 14 million Americans through the marketplaces. By the time President Trump left office, we were down to a little over 11 million. We had lost people in access to healthcare. And we know that we need people to gain the access to healthcare, not lose it. Today, we stand at about 16.5 million people with Obamacare. We increased the number from the previous administration by 50% in less than 2 years. Why? Because we reached out to people. But here's the best part of that, I think, for you and for me, just as with the COVID vaccine. The biggest increases, 50% increase in the number of black Americans who enrolled in Obamacare, 53% increase in the number of Latino Americans who enrolled in Obamacare. Again, not luck, not chance, intentional. That's what we're going to do when we go out there to provide health care to Americans.
Thank you so much for the information, Mr. Secretary. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And this will conclude our chat. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kevin Johnson, former mayor of Sacramento, California, and founding president of the African American Mayors Association.
All right, hello everyone. Y'all look so good out there. Beautiful crowd, beautiful crowd. I want to just first of all say thank you so much for supporting AMA. We've come a long, 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 long way in 9 years. Give yourselves a round of applause. Phyllis, staff, great job, everyone. Mayor Scott, where Mayor Scott at? Look at you. Look at you. How Little Rock? Going well? Proud of you. Let's give it up for Mayor Scott. Great job as a leader of this organization. And just if you're wondering, just in case, I used to play for the Phoenix Suns, so we in the playoffs, so that's what I'm rooting for. But also I was mayor of Sacramento and they in the playoffs, so I got two balls in the lottery. And if I had to pick one, I'm gonna pick the Phoenix Suns because they paid me for 12 years. So let me just get that out the way. I get the honor of introducing a documentary called Punch 9 for Harold Washington. I know y'all know who Harold Washington is. This man was the first African-American mayor in 1983 in the great city of Chicago. A good friend of mine, Raymond Lampert, stand up Raymond, y'all see him. You don't have to clap for him, just see where he's at. Raymond is the producer and director of the movie. For the first time, I went to Martha's Vineyard last year and I went to the African American Film Festival and they were showing this documentary. And I was like, we have to show it and partner with AMA. And I called Phyllis and she said, no problem. So you're gonna see a brief trailer of the movie and then I will give you a quick pledge that I think we as mayors can do to support Punch 9 for Harold Washington. So if you wouldn't mind, run the trailer.
We are for people. And having said that, it's our turn, it's our turn, it's our turn. Punch 9 for Harold Washington.
Rain, snow, sleet, or shine, we're going to the polls to punch 9.
Good evening. The results of Chicago's three-way race for the Democratic nomination for mayor today took many in that city and the nation by surprise.
I think a lot of people thought that City Hall was going to turn black overnight.
The vast majority of the Democratic machine became Republicans.
Everything Mayor Washington wanted to do, we blocked.
In my opinion, at the present moment, Richard Mell, the vice mayor of Chicago, is the mayor.
This is going to be short. I am the mayor.
In America, 29 votes is more than 21 votes. And that's the truth.
Mr. Badoliak, I've never run from anybody, including you, in my life. And I will be fair to everybody, but I'm going to insist that for the first time, this city is fair to you.
I thought he was going to be mayor for another 10, 15, 20 years.
We're number one, we're number one, we're number one. There was a time when you said Chicago and someone would respond like a Pavlovian dog, segregation. But now, anywhere in the world you go, when you say Chicago, you know what they'll say to you? How's Harold?
Do any of you remember that election? By a show of hands? I was in high school reading Ebony magazine and read that story and remember Coleman Young and Carl Stokes and Tom Bradley. These were the legendary mayors whose shoulders we're all standing on. At your table, you have one of these. It says Punch 9 for Harold Washington. We're asking 100 mayors to take the pledge, 100 mayors to take the pledge to support this movie, to create city advocates where you hold an event and we get 100 people to come to an event. We show the film, the documentary, and then from there,
they register 10 young voters. Does that make sense? So 2 goals with this documentary. Number 1, we want to keep the Harold Washington legacy alive, so this needs to get picked up by Netflix or Hulu or someone like that. And the second goal is to register young voters. So Mayor Scott, I know you supported it. Do African American mayors, can y'all stand up real quick? Let me see who you all are real quick. Man, are y'all still fast? Come up here real quick for a photo. Come real quick. Phyllis said I could do this real quick. Come on up, we're gonna take a photo. Once we take our photo, I'm gonna introduce the next person, so he's gonna come up. I'll tell you his name right now. His name is Greg F. Mew from Good Daddy. Once we take the photo, Greg, you have been officially announced after the photo. Roland, come on up. Raymond, come on up. Where's Charlotte Mayor in the house? Tacoma doing big thing. Okay, I see y'all. Wait, y'all gotta get in the middle over there. Y'all know how to get over there? You in the middle, boss. Y'all normally not this shy, right? That big old, don't stop right in front of everybody. Look at him, look. Make room for Mayor Hancock. Hey, look, y'all gotta hurry up. You get me in trouble.
Sorry, I guess I done stole the podium, right? Thank you.
Can I see it?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Greg F. Mew, Vice President of Public Relations with GoDaddy.
Good afternoon. Congresswoman Maxine Waters is considered by many to be among the most powerful women in American politics today. She's gained a reputation as a fearless and outspoken advocate for women, children, people of color, and the poor. Elected in November 2022 to her 16th term in the U.S. House of Representatives with more than 70% of the vote in the 43rd Congressional District of California, Congresswoman Waters represents a large part of the South Los Angeles community, including Westchester, Playa del Rey, and Watts, and the unincorporated areas of the Los Angeles County comprised of Lenox, West Athens, West Carson, Harbor Gateway, and El Camino Village. The 43rd District is also inclusive of diverse cities of Gardena, Hawthorne, Inglewood, Lawndale, Lomita, and Torrance. Congresswoman Waters made history as the first African-American chair of the House Financial Services Committee. An integral member of the Congressional Democratic leadership, Congresswoman Waters serves as a member of the Steering and Policy Committee and is co-chair of the bipartisan Congressional Task Force on Alzheimer's disease. She is also a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus and a member and past chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congresswoman Maxine Waters of California's 43rd District.
wow, wow. Hello, everyone. Hello, 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 and welcome to Washington, D.C. Let me take a moment to thank you, Mayor Frank Scott of Little Rock, Arkansas, president of the African American Mayors Association. Thank you for inviting me to be here with you today. Now, as you all know, Thursdays is usually go home day, so we close down, and a lot of people are on the airplanes now. But when this many black mayors come to town, I gotta stay. I gotta come and say thank you, thank you, thank you. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Okay, let me begin by congratulating everyone here who was recently elected or re-elected. Who is that? Who was recently elected? Mayor? Who was re-elected? All right, thank you so very much. Well, let me tell you, of course, I'm not, aware of all of those who were recently elected or even re-elected. But I want you to know in Los Angeles, we have a black woman mayor, Karen Bass. Give her a big round of applause. And so I was also keeping my eye on Chicago because my friend is Jesse Jackson for so many years and kind of watch what they're doing. And Chicago's new mayor-elect is Brandon Johnson. Is he here? Give him a big round of applause. Well, let me just say to you, mayors, I appreciate the duties and responsibilities of mayors. Mayors are responsible for making their cities safe, secure, and livable. Mayors must take primary responsibility for the basic needs of all of their residents, in addition to safety and security. This includes everything from street maintenance and repairs, public transit, all of that, schools and libraries, water and sewer systems, garbage disposal systems, animal control, and much more. So I really do appreciate the responsibilities of mayors. One of the things that happens here in Washington, D.C. is we're very busy, we're dealing with a lot of issues, but at least we can get away from the district and come here to Washington. But you have to face your residents every day. You can't go to the store, you can't go to church, you can't do much of anything, but you are right there with all of the people who are expecting you to make everything right. So I applaud all of you for the work that you do every day, regardless of what we do here in Washington. DC mayors must be all things to all people. Give yourselves another round of applause. So let me just get down to some real plain talk with you. As you must know, we're living in very difficult, complicated, and unusual times. We are confronted with unprecedented challenges here in Washington and throughout the entire nation. Allow me to be frank and open with you about the state of affairs facing our nation. I do believe that you all must know by now that our democracy is at stake. Do you get that? We are witnessing the kind of racism that has reared its ugly head in more ways than we have seen even in the past. Domestic terrorism, gun violence, unusual climate conditions, and deep divisions in our states and federal government. Here in Washington, we are divided on the basic necessities of raising the debt limit, keeping the government open and paying our bills. Now, this may not be an issue that you pay a lot of attention to in the cities, but I want you to know if we cannot raise the debt limit, we're going to close down government. We will not be able to pay our bills. And so we're divided with the Republicans who are threatening us. And they're saying basically to us, if you don't give us the cuts that we want to government, we're not going to support raising the debt limits. And let me tell you, they have been saying that they're interested in everything from Social Security to Medicare to Medicaid, etc. They're trying to intimidate us. But the President of the United States, President Biden, has said this is not up for negotiation. Either you're in or you're out. And you've got to protect the people of this country and this government, and you've got to support to raise the debt limit. So we don't know what's going to happen, but we are absolutely convinced that we must not negotiate for the cuts in basic programs, in our basic programs such as Social Security, Medicaid and Medi-Cal, et cetera. And so we are standing up to them, and we're fighting to raise those debt limits without making deep cuts. We fail to do anything to contain gun violence because of the influence, of course, of the National Rifle Association and all of the right-wingers who hide behind the Second Amendment. And I know that many of you are confronted on a daily basis with increasing violence, with violence that's either taking place in your cities or nearby. And so this is an issue that this country has got to deal with. The mass shootings, the killings, all of that is something that cannot continue. We must deal with the violence of mass shootings and the violence that is basically killing young Black people, young Black men in particular. I know that it can spread, and it does spread, as we've seen in some of the recent killings, but this is an issue that's got to be dealt with. And let me just say this, even though the Second Amendment is being used as a reason that so many support ownership of guns, but we also know that even if ownership of guns is not being challenged, what we challenge is, do you need assault rifles? Why do you need the kind of ammunition and the kind of guns that are used in wars? Why do you need them even if the Second Amendment allows you, you believe, to have a gun? So this is an issue that we're dealing with. We're doing everything that we can to try to get some votes on some very basic things. Registration, the elimination of assault rifles for personal use, et cetera, et cetera. And so I won't go into that much further. You know what that issue is. You know what it's all about. And also, you've heard something that we have not had to deal with before. I've been around for a long time, but we have a member who has joined us in the House of Representatives who has absolutely been responsible for the most unconscionable lies that we've ever heard of. I mean, you know all about him. I'm not going to talk about it a lot, but you need to understand what we're dealing with in the House of Representatives, in Congress, period. And this is one example of the new kind of challenges that we have. Someone coming in, complete lying about their backgrounds, about their birth, about the college education, on and on and on. But I'm hopeful that it's not going to wait until the elections to get rid of him. The Ethics Committee has started the investigation. Applaud if you think he needs to be out. Now, another strange thing that's happened. Well, it's not just one strange thing. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Have you ever seen anything like that in your life? And you know, there was recently a young man who served in the armed forces who had access to classified documents. And not only did he have access to them, he got them and he shared them with others, because it was like playing games. This is what they do. They're in all of these situations where they share this information. Now, that's not bad enough. Marjorie Taylor Greene said, we should not be criticizing him. That don't you understand that he's white and he's Christian and he's a good person? Well, I want you to know, anybody who claims to be patriotic and they cannot criticize someone who's stealing classified information. Information that if it is exposed, it could cause people to lose their lives, on and on and on. I just want you to get an idea of what we're dealing with. In addition to that, we have members of the House of Representatives who are aligned with and supportive of the Proud Boys, the KKK, QAnon, all of those domestic terrorists that were involved in January 6th, who invaded our capital, the ones who used the American flag to beat our Capitol Police and to end up killing people. So I want you to understand what we're dealing with here. This is not the kind of organized legislative effort where we get up and we go to work and we are respecting each other, where we are working with each other, where there's a lot of bipartisanship going on. This is very, very difficult. But I want you to know that we are going to take back the House of Representatives. We've got to take it back. We have no choice in taking it back. We're very close. They only beat us by a small margin, about 5 votes. But we have come back. The Democrats are strongly organized. Now, I know most of you are, in situations where you're not Democrat, you're not Republican, you're not independent, but we know who you are. And we know what you care about. But I want you to know that we have, on the Democratic side, elected Hakeem Jeffries to be the leader of our Democratic caucus. He is fabulous. He is respectful. He is organized. He's brilliant. And he's working with all of the members of the Democratic caucus, ensuring that everybody has an opportunity to use their talent and their wisdom to get good legislation on the floor, pass some of the committees, even if we can't get it past 5 of those Republicans. Maybe we can find a couple of them who are willing to work with us and who may be able to influence a couple more. But if we don't get it there, they can't get anything from the opposite side either, because if they pass with their slim majority, they still got to deal with the Senate. And the Senate is in the majority, even though it's slim. The Democrats are in majority. And even if they got it past the Senate, they got to get to the President of the United States, who's not going to sign some of those awful bills if they get them through the House and through the Senate. So I want you to know that the Democrats are organized. We are working very closely together. We have a great leader. And so I'm very optimistic that we're going to be able to do what you would have us do. We understand what our responsibility is to our cities. We understand what you're up against. We understand the services that you want to deliver. We understand the responsibilities of federal government to make sure we get that CDBG money to you, to make sure that we know that when we pass the infrastructure bill, that we're passing it on down to you so that you can have the resources to deal with the water systems, that you can deal with the streets and the highways, that you can deal with the bridges that are dangerous and need repair. And so we are working very hard to make sure that not only we take back the House, but we realize our responsibilities to all of you who are on the front lines in our cities and in our towns, trying to deal with the issues of taking care of the special needs of your cities and trying to help people have a decent quality of life. Give yourselves another round of applause. Well, I've talked to you about the Republicans and how they're threatening Medicare and Medicaid. But I want you to know, when you think about Social Security and the fact that literally prior to Social Security, we had seniors who were eating dog food. And so I'm going to give you this line to take back to your cities with you. They will undermine, they will cut, they will change Social Security as we know it over my dead body. It's not going to happen. We will resist, we will fight, and you let your seniors know that they have a Democratic caucus that's fighting for them. If any of you here are Republicans, you talk to your Republican friends because we are not going to lose Social Security. All right, having said that, Criminal justice reform, it is so desperately needed. As we watch what is going on in this nation, in this country, again, I alluded to, mentioned just a little bit about, criminal justice reform. But I want to tell you, they cannot continue to shoot unarmed black folks, these young black men knocking on a door, happen to be at the wrong door, and somebody comes out and shoots you to try and kill you. And we can go on and we can talk about how we're losing young black males in particular, but black people overall. And that is, it doesn't matter. We get people killed who are real estate agents who are trying to show a property and get killed because they are in the wrong so-called neighborhood. We get people who killed because kids are trying to use a swimming pool that has only been available to white children. We get killed for all kinds of reasons, and you can't drive while black, you can't walk while black, you can't go anywhere, you can't go to church while black. They kill our people in black churches. And so I want you to know, criminal justice reform is at the top of our agenda. Criminal justice reform is absolutely crucial to our ability to even think about a decent quality of life. And so we're working very hard on that. We were not able to get it passed because we didn't have all the support that we needed on the Senate side. But we passed in the House the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act in 2021. And unfortunately, the Senate refused to pass the bill, and the Republicans in Congress have shown no interest in criminal justice reform. But I want you to know we're on it, and we're not going to back off. Let me just mention a little bit about housing and homelessness. As the former chairwoman of the House on Financial Services Committee, and now the ranking member, my top priority on that committee has always been to basically expand affordable housing for all of our communities and to end homelessness. And I have worked hard to secure robust funding to try and do that. I am very pleased to have made significant strides through the pandemic relief legislation, such as the CARES Act, you're familiar with that, the American Rescue Plan Act, which provided a lifeline to families struggling to remain housed during the pandemic. Through the CARES Act, I secured a nationwide eviction and foreclosure moratorium, forbearance relief for homeowners, and $4 billion in emergency solution grants to assist people experiencing homelessness. So I'm very proud that we were able to secure billions of dollars to help subsidize families with crucial housing relief through the American Rescue Plan Act. Of course, that bill was huge. We had an additional 21.6 billion for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, which received a total of about 46.6 billion, 10 billion for the Homeowner Assistance Fund, 5 billion for the 70,000 of the first of their kind emergency housing vouchers targeted to people experiencing homelessness, and about $5 billion to help states and local communities provide services and housing for people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. That's not all. After decades of disinvestment in fair and affordable housing, I, as the chair of that committee, was able to secure $150 billion in fair and affordable housing investments through the Build Back Better Act, which passed the House, but ultimately was blocked by senators, I'm calling their names, Manchin and Sinema, in the Senate, therefore never became law. This historic level of funding in Build Back Better would have created nearly 1.4 million affordable homes, assisted over 867,000 families, helped end homelessness, and helped reduce the racial wealth gap by bringing home ownership back within reach for the first time first-generation home buyers. Fortunately, we were able to secure several Build Back Better housing priorities through the recent omnibus appropriations package for fiscal year 2023, including 25 million in new housing vouchers to serve an additional 11,000 households. That's not enough. That's too little. And I don't even have to ask you what your needs are as it relates to housing. We know what they are, and it must be a priority of the Congress of the United States to give safe and decent housing to all of the people of this country. And so while we've made some significant strides to help stabilize families and house people experiencing homelessness and stymie a recession early in the pandemic, there is so much that needs to be done. And I know it well. I think in this country, Los Angeles County is number one in homelessness. We have about 50,000 people on the street every night, even though there is about, I think, 500,000 or more in this country that are experiencing homelessness. It is off the scale in Los Angeles. And so Mayor Bass has a tremendous job to deal with homelessness. This is one of the issues that she campaigned on, and we've all got to do everything that we can to help get rid of this homelessness. And thank God we have some help in HUD with Marsha Fudge. You all know Marsha Fudge? Give a big round of applause. We need that money. A little bit about CDFIs and MDIs. I don't know what you know about, you do know about our minority banks that we refer to as our MDIs, but we also have CDFIs. These are these community organizations, financial organizations that are an alternative to the banks who will not lend money to small businesses and to minority businesses. The CDFIs, we're funding to make sure that they do everything that they can to get money out to the very small businesses and minority businesses. If you don't know who the CDFIs in your communities, call us so that we can make sure you all get that information, because they do have funding. As many of you already know, community financial institutions like these MDIs and these community development financial institutions are the lifelines for our communities. These institutions step up to help small businesses in our communities get the capital that they need when the larger banks are ignoring them. That's why I've spent years in Congress, including as chairwoman again of the House Financial Services Committee, fighting to ensure these diverse and these mission-driven community financial institutions get the funding and support that they need in 2020, where we really were able to get a lot of money out. Get that early on in the COVID-19 pandemic. I learned that small businesses, especially those owned by people of color, were not being served, of course, by the larger banks as usual, who had prioritized their concierge clients. We had this PPP program, which I think most of you know about. And what happened was the big banks created their own special panels, and they got that money out to their concierge clients, to the special clients, to the big boys, and they used up all the money. But thank God that I was there and Nydia Velasquez was there, and what we did was we put together another $60 billion, and we got it to our minority banks and to our CDFIs so that they could get that money out to our small businesses. And they did a darn good job of it. They got that money out within hours to our small businesses. Well, we're still working to give more money to these CDFIs and to our minority banks. These small businesses that got the money was able to get access to some critical relief. I then worked with Senator Mark Warner, who was then the ranking member, working with the ranking member, Patrick McHenry, Senator, Chairman Brown, and others, and we have secured another $12 billion in capital investments and grants to the MDIs and the CDFIs to allow them to expand their reach and support small businesses and communities across the nation. Earlier this month, the last major portion of these funds, specifically 1.7 billion in grants to CDFIs and MDIs, were deployed by the CDFI fund. So again, if you don't know about them, if you don't think you have access to them, they're not in your cities or towns or nearby, please call us so that we can give you that information. I am going to keep fighting to strengthen and support these MDIs and these CDFIs so they can continue their important mission to support our communities. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon. I know I may be taking too much time, but you all didn't come here to just fun and games. And I came here to try and give you some real information and tell you the truth about what's going on. Last month, after Silicon Valley Bank experienced the largest bank run in U.S. history, with $42 billion withdrawn in a single day and failed, many communities were worried that their deposits weren't safe in any bank and about the threat of a potential recession. Signature Bank failed as well, and these two bank failures were the second and third largest in our nation's history. Now, there's one thing that you can thank our government for. I want you to know that the feds, the Treasury, and the FDIC, everybody got together and worked over a weekend. And I want you to know when they came up with the decision to provide insurance for everybody, they saved everybody and all of our banks and communities from a run on the banks. When you woke up on Monday morning, your deposits were safe and secure because once, and perhaps once in a magic lifetime, everybody got together and they knew that they could not afford to have a run on all of our banks. But that bank, the Silicon Valley Bank, the National Bank in Silicon Valley, was a go-to bank for startups. They were the ones who were providing money for those new creative ideas that a lot of the young people are coming with, including something we should be worried about, and that is the way we're dealing with some of the new creativity, but we'll talk about that later. Anyhow, I want you to know that you can say to your banks and your small banks included that everything is safe, that there will not be a run on the banks, that has been taken care of, and I'm very pleased and proud about that work. Let me just wrap this up without going into any more because I know you've got a lot to do. Ladies and gentlemen, when we get elected to office, our people expect us to represent. They expect us to deal with the problems that we've had to experience in the past. Racism, exclusion, and systems that have not worked for us won't work for us until we change them. And so we have a huge responsibility to do maybe what some people think is extraordinary. But from the time I was a child, I've always been made to believe that we have a responsibility not only to ourselves, but to our families, our neighbors, and our friends. Everything that I was taught in my family and in my church was about doing good. It was about helping others. It was about making sure that you didn't allow those close to you, around you, in your neighborhood to be hungry, that you would be willing to fight for justice and equality. And let me tell you, if we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it for us. If we don't have the courage and the commitment to do what should be done in order to alleviate poverty and to eliminate those who are living on the edge, then we're going to suffer for the future. And so I'm just saying and reminding everybody, look at the courage of some of our young people. I like what the Tennessee Three did. They stood up, they spoke up, they took the blame They were beaten on, but in the final analysis, they've been reinstated. Jesse Jackson has always said, if you fight, you can win. But if you don't fight, you'll never know whether or not you could have won. And so I'm saying to you that we have to be about the struggle. We have to be about the fight. Now, I'm going to wrap up by saying I appreciate all of you, but I want you to know Black women are doing good. Black women are on the rise. Black women are in the forefront of some of the most progressive legislation. Black women are in the leadership of speaking out. And I just want to remind you that when I talk about Black women, we have a vice president by the name of Kamala Harris. We have a justice by the name of Ketanji Brown Jackson in the Supreme Court. We have Letitia James, who's going to get her some Trump, the Attorney General of New York. She's filed a civil lawsuit against the Trump Organization and worked alongside the Office of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg in its criminal investigation of the Trump Organization. And then we got Fani Willis in the Fulton County District Attorney, the Atlanta area prosecutor investigating efforts by the former President Donald Trump and his allies to overturn the 2020 election. And then, of course, we've got a lot more, but we really should have had Stacey Abrams. She really won. They cheated her out of becoming the governor in Georgia. So I just mentioned that because I'm so proud, not only of the work that many are doing, but I'm very proud of the work that Black women are doing and finally being recognized for what they do. So come to Washington, D.C. as you have. Exchange information. Help each other to know what's going on in these different jurisdictions. Do everything that you can to make sure that you communicate to your constituents and they know what's going on and how they can help. I didn't talk about voter registration and voter participation because I know all of you know that we've got to do that every day of our lives and get people involved in voting. That is what is going to help us to be able to operate and to do what we need to do in a society that never expected us to get it done. And so have a good time while you're here. Call our offices, stay in touch with the Black Caucus, stay in touch with the Democratic Caucus. And for those of you who are Republicans, you stay in touch with them, but I hope you get nothing done. And so, having said that, thank you for letting me come and spout off a little bit. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Thank you for your leadership. And we want to just encourage all of you to go right across the hall to our 2 o'clock session. We're a little over, but that's okay. Small business and thriving economies, the opportunities and optimism, micro business to bring local economies, sponsored by GoDaddy in the Ambassador Ballroom. Thank you so much. Let's have a great conference, and this will conclude our lunch session. Thank you again.